Marcus Brennan didn't hear the first 53 notifications. Not the emails from the board, not the calls from his lawyers, not the text messages that kept lighting up his phone like distress flares in the dark. He sat alone in his 12,000-square-foot penthouse at 3:47 in the morning, staring at a single email that had just destroyed everything he'd spent 15 years building. The subject line was simple: board decision, effective immediately. The body was even simpler: Marcus Brennan, you are hereby removed as Chief Executive Officer of Brennan Technologies. All corporate assets have been frozen pending investigation into financial irregularities. Your personal accounts are under review. Surrender all company property within 72 hours. Marcus read it 3 times, then 4. The words didn't change. The reality didn't soften. He was still wearing yesterday's suit. $5,000, custom-tailored, now wrinkled and damp with the kind of sweat that comes from panic. His tie hung loose around his neck. His shoes were still on. He hadn't moved from this spot on the leather couch in 6 hours, watching the sun go down through floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Manhattan like he owned it. He used to own it, or at least, he thought he did. The tears came without warning. First one, then another, then a flood he couldn't control. Marcus Brennan, billionaire, tech mogul, the man Forbes called the most ruthless CEO under 40, sat in the dark and cried like he hadn't cried since he was a child. He didn't hear the small footsteps in the hallway, didn't notice the door to the living room ease open, didn't see the tiny figure standing there in rocket ship pajamas, clutching a worn stuffed elephant that had seen better days. "Daddy?" Marcus's head snapped up. He tried to wipe his face, but his hands were shaking too much. His son stood 10 feet away, backlit by the hallway light, looking smaller than his 8 years. "Daddy, why are you sitting in the dark?" Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. What do you tell an 8-year-old? How do you explain that everything you built, everything you promised, everything you sacrificed for, just evaporated in a single email? Ethan took a tentative step forward, then another. His elephant dragged on the floor behind him, one ear torn, stuffing coming out. Marcus had offered to buy him a new one 100 times. Ethan always said no. "You're crying," Ethan whispered. He was close enough now that Marcus could see his face. Those wide brown eyes, the concern that shouldn't belong to someone so young. Daddies don't cry. Something about that broke Marcus even more. He reached out, and Ethan climbed onto the couch beside him, small and warm and real. The only real thing in Marcus's life at that moment. "I'm sorry, buddy," Marcus managed. His voice sounded like gravel. "I didn't mean to wake you." "I wasn't sleeping." Ethan settled against his father's side, the elephant tucked between them. "I heard you get up. You've been gone a long time." Marcus looked at his watch. 6 hours. 6 hours sitting here while his son was awake in the other room, probably scared, definitely alone. "What happened?" Ethan asked. Not demanding, just curious. The way kids ask why the sky is blue or where rain comes from. Marcus took a shaky breath. "I lost my company, buddy. All of it." Ethan was quiet for a moment, processing. Marcus could almost hear the gears turning in his head. "Does that mean you're not the boss anymore?" "No, I'm not the boss anymore." "Does that mean you won't have meetings?" "No meetings." "Does that mean?" Ethan sat up, looking at his father with something Marcus couldn't quite identify. Something that looked almost like hope. "Does that mean you're not busy anymore?" Marcus blinked. "What?" Ethan's voice got smaller, quieter, like he was afraid to say it out loud. "Daddy, now can we finally play together?" The world stopped. Marcus stared at his son, at this small boy who'd just asked the most devastating question he'd ever heard. Not, "Are we going to be okay?" Not, "What are we going to do?" Not, "Are we poor now?" Just, "Can we play together?" Something inside Marcus didn't just crack. It shattered, completely, irreparably, into pieces so small he didn't think they could ever be put back together. Because his 8-year-old son had just revealed a truth Marcus had been too blind to see. Ethan hadn't been waiting for a new toy. He hadn't been waiting for a bigger house or a faster car or any of the things Marcus kept buying him. He'd been waiting for his father to lose everything so they could finally spend time together. Marcus pulled Ethan close, burying his face in his son's hair, and cried harder than he'd cried over the company, harder than he'd cried over the money, harder than he thought possible. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "Oh God, buddy, I'm so sorry." Ethan went stiff in his arms. "Daddy, did I say something wrong? I didn't mean to make you more sad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "No." Marcus pulled back, holding Ethan's face in his hands. "No, you didn't do anything wrong. You said exactly the right thing. I just wish you'd said it 8 years ago." Ethan didn't understand. How could he? He was 8. But Marcus understood. Finally, terribly, completely. He'd spent 8 years building an empire. And in those 8 years, his son had been sitting in the next room, counting the minutes until his father wasn't too busy to notice he existed. Marcus remembered something then. A flash of memory so sharp it cut. He was 14. His own father worked 80-hour weeks at a factory, trying to give Marcus opportunities he never had. Marcus would sit at the kitchen table doing homework, listening for his father's footsteps, waiting for the door to open. Most nights, his father came home after Marcus was already asleep. On his father's rare days off, he was too exhausted to do anything but sit in front of the television, beer in hand, eyes glazed. Marcus had made a promise to himself back then. "When I have kids, I'll be different. I'll give them everything. I'll make sure they never want for anything." And he'd kept that promise, sort of. He'd given Ethan everything money could buy: a penthouse, private schools, toys that cost more than most people's cars. A $10,000 gift delivered by an assistant on his 8th birthday, while Marcus closed a $2.3 billion acquisition. Everything except the one thing Ethan actually wanted: him. Marcus looked at his son now, really looked at him, maybe for the first time in years. When had Ethan's face lost its baby roundness? When had he gotten so tall? When had those eyes learned to hide disappointment so well? "Buddy," Marcus said quietly, "can I tell you something?" Ethan nodded, still clutching his elephant. "You're right. I'm not busy anymore. And you know what? What? From now on, I'm never going to be too busy for you again. Ever." Ethan's eyes got very wide. "Really? Really? Even if you get another company? Even then? Promise?" Marcus held up his pinky. "Promise." Ethan hooked his pinky around his father's. They shook, solemn, binding, the most important contract Marcus Brennan had ever signed. "Can we start now?" Ethan asked hopefully. Marcus looked at the clock. 4:15 in the morning. In his old life, he'd say, "It's too late, buddy. Go back to bed. We'll play this weekend." And then the weekend would come, and there'd be an emergency meeting, or a crisis, or a deal that couldn't wait. But his old life was gone, burned to ash. Nothing left but this moment, and the small boy looking at him with hope Marcus didn't deserve. "Yes," Marcus said, "we can start now." Ethan's smile could have lit up the whole city. They stayed on that couch until the sun came up. Ethan talked about school, about his friends, about a science project on volcanoes that Marcus didn't know existed, about a bully named Tyler who pushed him on the playground, about a girl named Emma who let him borrow her crayons when his broke. Marcus listened, really listened, not half listening while checking his phone, not nodding absently while thinking about quarterly reports. He listened like Ethan's words were the most important thing in the world, because they were. When morning light finally crept through the windows, Ethan had fallen asleep against Marcus's chest, the stuffed elephant trapped between them. Marcus didn't move, didn't check his phone, just sat there, holding his son, watching him breathe, and wondering how he'd wasted 8 years of this. The phone buzzed. Marcus ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. He glanced at the screen. 47 missed calls, 218 emails, 17 text messages, most from his lawyer, a few from the board, one from his wife, Caroline. Marcus had almost forgotten about her. She was probably in the guest wing, asleep in a bed she hadn't shared with Marcus in 3 years. Their marriage had become a business arrangement somewhere along the way. She handled the social calendar, the charity events, the appearances. He handled everything else. They were partners in name only. He wondered if she knew yet, if someone had called her, if she'd even care. He got his answer an hour later when she walked into the living room wearing a silk robe and the expression of someone who'd just checked her bank account. "I got the notification," Caroline said. No greeting. No. "Are you okay?" Just straight to business. That's who they'd become. The accounts are frozen. Marcus shifted Ethan gently to the side, standing slowly so he wouldn't wake him. "Caroline, I can explain." "Don't." Her voice was ice. "I've already called my lawyer. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm taking Ethan." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You're what?" "You heard me. I'm not staying for this. Do you have any idea what this is going to do to our reputation? To my family's name?" "Your family's name," Marcus repeated slowly. "Not our son, not our lives. Your family's name." "Don't be dramatic." Caroline waved a manicured hand. "I'll get full custody. You won't fight it. You can't afford to fight it. He's my son. He's a child who deserves stability, which you clearly can't provide." Ethan stirred on the couch, small voice barely audible. "Mommy?" Caroline turned, saw him sitting up, rubbing his eyes. For just a moment, something that might have been guilt crossed her face. Then it was gone, replaced by that same cold efficiency. "Go back to sleep, Ethan." "Are you fighting?" "No, sweetheart. Mommy just has to take care of some things." Ethan looked from his mother to his father. Kids always know. Even when you try to hide it, they know. "Is it because Daddy lost his company?" Caroline's expression hardened. "Yes, it is." "Caroline," Marcus started. "Does that mean we have to leave?" Ethan's voice was getting smaller. "It means Mommy is leaving," Caroline said. "And you're coming with me." "No." Everyone stopped. Ethan had said it so quietly, but with such firmness, that for a moment no one knew how to respond. "Excuse me?" Caroline said. "I want to stay with Daddy." "Ethan, sweetheart, you don't understand. Daddy doesn't have money anymore. We can't live here. We can't afford." "I don't care." Ethan climbed off the couch, moved to Marcus's side. His small hand found Marcus's larger one. "I want to stay with Daddy." Caroline's face went through several emotions: anger, frustration, then something else, something that looked almost like relief. "Fine," she said. "You want him? You can have him. But don't come crying to me when you can't feed him or clothe him or give him the life he deserves." "Caroline, I'm leaving Marcus. Today. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. As far as Ethan goes." She looked at their son with an expression Marcus couldn't read. "He's your responsibility now. Completely." She turned and walked out. Just like that. No hug goodbye. No "I love you" to her son. Just the sound of expensive heels on marble, getting fainter and fainter until they disappeared entirely. Ethan squeezed Marcus's hand. "Is Mommy coming back?" Marcus knelt down, looked his son in the eye. He could have lied, could have said, "Of course she is," or "She just needs some time." But he was done lying. To Ethan and to himself. "No, buddy. I don't think so." "Is it my fault?" "No." Marcus pulled him close. "God, no. None of this is your fault. Do you hear me? None of it." "Then why did she leave?" How do you explain to an 8-year-old that some people love the idea of a family more than the actual family? That some people marry for status and stay for comfort and leave when the money runs out? Because she wasn't ready to be the kind of mother you deserve. Ethan was quiet for a long time. Then, so quietly, Marcus almost missed it. "Are you going to leave too?" Marcus's heart broke all over again. His son's biggest fear wasn't poverty, wasn't losing the penthouse or the private school or any of it. It was losing the parent he had left. "Never," Marcus said fiercely. "I'm never leaving you. Ever. I promise you that, Ethan. I don't care what happens. I don't care if we end up living in a cardboard box. I'm staying. You and me. Together. Always. Ethan buried his face in Marcus's shoulder and cried. And Marcus held him and made silent promises to a God he wasn't sure he believed in anymore. Please, please let me be enough. Please let me not screw this up. Please let me be the father he needs now that I've wasted so much time being the father I thought I should be. The next 72 hours were a blur. Federal agents came with warrants. They cataloged everything. Art worth millions. Watches. Cars. They tagged it all with little stickers that said property of the United States government. Marcus watched them box up his life and didn't feel anything. It was just stuff. Things. None of it mattered. Ethan watched too, from behind Marcus's leg, clutching that stuffed elephant like a lifeline. Daddy, why are they taking everything? Because I owe people money, buddy. How much money? Marcus almost laughed. Almost. A lot. Do we have any left? Marcus had checked that morning. His personal accounts, frozen pending investigation. His savings, seized. His investments, liquidated to pay creditors. Everything gone except one account the lawyers hadn't found yet. His emergency fund from 15 years ago, back when he was just starting out, paranoid about failing. He'd checked the balance 3 times to make sure he wasn't reading it wrong. $847.32. From $2.8 billion to 847. We have enough, Marcus said. It wasn't a lie. Not exactly. They had enough for maybe 2 months if he was very careful. After that, he'd need a job. Any job. The penthouse was the last thing to go. Marcus packed 2 suitcases, one for him, one for Ethan. Clothes, toothbrushes. A few books Ethan couldn't live without. The stuffed elephant. That was it. Everything else stayed. The new place was in Queens. 400 square feet. 1 room. A kitchenette in the corner. A bathroom they'd share with 3 other families down the hall. The building smelled like old grease and cigarette smoke and something else Marcus couldn't identify. The landlord wanted first month, last month, and deposit. That took $600 of Marcus's $847. They climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The elevator was broken. Had been for months, according to the landlord. Marcus unlocked the door. They stood in the doorway, looking in. It was so small. Smaller than Marcus's closet in the penthouse. One window looked out over a parking lot. The paint was peeling. The floor was stained. The whole place was maybe 1/10 of Ethan's old bedroom. Well, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady, this is home now. Ethan walked in slowly. He set his suitcase down, looked around, turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. Marcus waited for the meltdown, for the tears, for the I want to go back, for the moment when Ethan realized what he'd chosen by staying with his father. Instead, Ethan smiled. Actually smiled. It's cozy, he said, like camping. Marcus stared at his son, this 8-year-old who'd just lost everything and was calling it cozy. You're okay with this? Are you here? Ethan asked. Yes. Then I'm okay with it. Marcus sat down hard on the air mattress that was the only furniture they'd been able to afford. Ethan sat beside him. You're not mad? Marcus asked. About what? About losing everything. The house, your room, your toys, your school, all of it. Ethan thought about it. Really thought about it. Then shook his head. I didn't lose everything, Daddy. I lost stuff. But I got you. Marcus couldn't speak. He pulled Ethan close and held on while the whole world shifted on its axis. They slept on that air mattress that night. Both of them. Ethan curled against Marcus's side, the elephant between them. A thin blanket pulled up to their chins. It was the best sleep Marcus had in 15 years. He woke to sunlight streaming through the window. Ethan was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the mattress, watching him. You're still here, Ethan said. Not a question, more like a confirmation. I'm still here. You don't have to go to work? Marcus almost laughed. Work, right. Nobody. I don't have to go anywhere. What do we do now? Marcus thought about it. In his old life, he'd be on his third meeting by now. He'd have answered 50 emails, made 20 decisions, put out 10 fires. He'd be running, always running, never stopping, never breathing, never thinking about anything except the next deal, the next acquisition, the next win. Now, he had nothing to do, nowhere to be, no one expecting anything from him. It was the most terrifying and liberating feeling of his life. I don't know, Marcus said honestly. What do you want to do? Ethan's face lit up. Really? I can pick? Really? Can we have breakfast together? Such a simple request. Such a normal thing. And Marcus realized he couldn't remember the last time they'd had breakfast together. The last time they'd had any meal together that wasn't him eating takeout at his desk while Ethan ate with the nanny in the other room. Yes, Marcus said. We can have breakfast together. They had exactly $3.47 left after paying for the apartment. Marcus used $3 to buy a box of pancake mix from the corner store. The kind you add water to. The kind that makes 12 pancakes for 12 cents each. He stood in the tiny kitchenette, staring at the box, realizing he had no idea how to make pancakes. He'd never cooked a meal in his life. That's what chefs were for. That's what money was for. Need help? Ethan appeared at his elbow. You know how to make pancakes? I watched videos on YouTube. When Mommy was gone and the nanny was busy, I wanted to learn. Something about that sentence hurt more than Marcus expected. His son learning life skills from YouTube because no one had time to teach him. Okay, Marcus said. Show me. They made pancakes. Or tried to. The first batch burned. The second batch was raw in the middle. The third batch was actually edible, though slightly lumpy and weirdly shaped. Smoke filled the apartment. They opened the window. Laughed when the smoke alarm went off. Laughed harder when Marcus tried to fan it with a dish towel and accidentally whacked Ethan in the face. They sat on the air mattress, eating slightly burnt, slightly raw, definitely lumpy pancakes. And it was the best meal Marcus had ever eaten. These are terrible, Ethan said, grinning. The worst, Marcus agreed. Can we make them again tomorrow? Every day if you want. Ethan took another bite, chewing thoughtfully. Daddy? Yeah, buddy? I like this better. Better than what? Better than before. When we had everything. Marcus set his plate down. Why? Ethan shrugged. Because you're not on your phone. Marcus realized his phone was in his pocket. He hadn't checked it in 18 hours. That might have been a record. You noticed that, huh? I noticed everything. Ethan's voice got quieter. I used to count. Count what? How many times you looked at your phone when we talked? My record was 47 times. During dinner, you looked at your phone 47 times while I was trying to tell you about my day. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. You counted? I thought maybe if I got good at math, you'd notice me more. You liked numbers. Ethan. It's okay, Daddy. Ethan smiled, but it was sad around the edges. You notice me now. You look at me now. That's all I wanted. Marcus pulled his phone out of his pocket, looked at it. This thing, this little rectangle of metal and glass. He'd chosen it over his son 47 times in a single dinner. How many times in 8 years? How many moments had he missed staring at a screen? He stood up, walked to the window, and threw the phone out. Ethan gasped. Daddy, your phone. I don't need it, but what if someone calls? Then they can leave a message. You're more important than any call I'll ever get. Ethan stared at him, then burst into tears. Happy tears, the kind that come from relief so profound it has to escape somehow. Marcus held him while he cried, and made another promise to himself, to Ethan, to the universe. Never again. Never again would anything be more important than this moment, than this boy, than this life they were building from the ashes of everything they'd lost. The days turned into weeks. Marcus learned things he'd never had to learn before. How to ride the subway, how to shop for food that would last, how to stretch $7 into 3 meals, how to scrub floors and wash dishes and do laundry in a sink because the building's machines cost $2 a load they couldn't spare. He applied for jobs, dozens of them. Most never called back. The ones that did recognized his name from the news. "Aren't you that guy who?" "Yes. We'll call you if something opens up." They never called. Marcus was overqualified for everything and qualified for nothing. His experience was running billion-dollar companies. No one wanted that. They wanted people who could work a register, stock shelves, clean toilets. So that's what Marcus learned to do. He got a job cleaning office buildings at night, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., $15 an hour. It was the only place that didn't care about his past because they were desperate for anyone willing to work the graveyard shift. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. He was cleaning offices in the same building where his company had rented space, where he used to work on the 40th floor while people exactly like him now cleaned the floors he walked on without ever really seeing them. Mrs. Wong, the elderly woman next door, watched Ethan while Marcus worked. She wouldn't take payment. "You watch out for him," she said in her careful English. "You be good father. That's all I need." Marcus would leave at 10:45, would kiss Ethan goodnight, would promise to be back before he woke up, and would keep that promise. He'd clean toilets and empty trash and mop floors until his back ached and his hands cracked from the chemicals. Would watch the sun come up through windows that used to be his. Would take the subway home while businessmen in expensive suits got on, talking on phones about deals and numbers and all the things that used to matter to Marcus. And then he'd walk up 3 flights of stairs, unlock the door to their tiny apartment, and find Ethan asleep on the air mattress, one small hand stretched out like he'd fallen asleep reaching for his father. Marcus would lie down beside him. Ethan would roll toward him without waking, would curl into Marcus's side, and Marcus would watch him breathe and think about how he used to live. He used to sleep in a bed that cost $40,000. He used to wear suits that cost more than he now made in a month. He used to sign checks that would have paid for this entire building. And he'd been miserable, successful and miserable, rich and empty, winning and losing. Now he was poor. Now he was tired. Now his hands hurt and his back ached, and he smelled like cleaning chemicals. And he'd never been happier. 3 weeks into his new job, the school called Parent-Teacher Conference. Marcus almost didn't go. He was sleeping during the day, working at night. He was exhausted. But then he remembered. He'd never gone to a parent-teacher conference. Not once in Ethan's 8 years. Always too busy. Always a meeting he couldn't miss. Always something more important. There was nothing more important than this. He showed up in his work clothes because he'd come straight from his shift. Jeans and a t-shirt that said "Clean Team" on the back. He hadn't showered. His hair was a mess. He probably smelled. But he was there. Miss Rodriguez was Ethan's teacher. Mid-30s, kind eyes, the sort of person who'd chosen teaching because she actually cared. "Mr. Brennan," she said, standing to shake his hand. "Thank you so much for coming." "Of course. Is Ethan okay? Is he in trouble?" No, nothing like that. Please sit." Marcus sat in a child-sized chair that made him feel enormous and out of place. "I wanted to talk to you about Ethan's progress this term." Marcus's stomach dropped. Progress. That sounded bad. He's struggling? Actually, the opposite. His work has always been good, but lately. She pulled out a folder. He's thriving. His test scores are up. His participation in class has increased dramatically. He's smiling more, making friends. I've never seen such a transformation in a student. Marcus blinked. Transformation? Yes. I wanted to know what changed at home. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It's clearly working. Marcus couldn't speak for a moment. What was he like before? Miss Rodriguez chose her words carefully. Withdrawn. Quiet. He'd do his work but never volunteer to share. During free time, he'd sit by himself. Other kids would try to play with him, and he'd turn them down. She paused. I was actually considering recommending a counselor. I thought he might be depressed. Depressed? He's 8. Children can be depressed, Mr. Brennan, especially when they feel invisible. That word hit Marcus like a physical blow. Invisible. But something changed about a month ago. Miss Rodriguez continued. He came in one Monday morning and it was like a switch had flipped. He was engaged, present, happy. So, I'm asking what happened, what changed. Marcus thought about the past month. The bankruptcy, the divorce, moving to Queens, learning to make terrible pancakes, walking to the park, playing on the swings, reading bedtime stories, being there, just being there. Everything, Marcus said quietly. Everything changed. Miss Rodriguez smiled. Well, whatever it was, it's working. He's a different child. She pulled out a piece of paper, a drawing, crayon on construction paper, 2 stick figures, one large, one small, holding hands, a sun in the corner, grass, a tree, simple, perfect. At the top, in Ethan's careful handwriting, "My dad is my best friend now." Marcus's vision blurred. He took the drawing with shaking hands. "He talks about you constantly," Miss Rodriguez said gently. "About the pancakes you make together, the park you go to, the stories you tell. He says you're teaching him to ride a bike this weekend." Marcus had promised that 2 days ago. A used bike from a thrift store. $30 he couldn't really spare, but spent anyway because Ethan had looked at it with such hope. "You're a good father, Mr. Brennan." Marcus almost laughed. Almost said, "You didn't know me 3 months ago." Almost explained how he'd missed every important moment of Ethan's first 8 years. Instead he just said, "I'm trying to be." "Well, you're succeeding. Whatever sacrifices you've made, whatever changes you've implemented, they're paying off. Your son is happier than I've ever seen him." Marcus walked out of that school holding a crayon drawing like it was made of gold. Because it was. It was worth more than anything he'd lost, worth more than the billions, worth more than the empire, worth more than every deal he'd ever closed. His son was happy, actually happy, not fake smile for the cameras happy, not pretending everything's fine happy, really, truly happy. And it was because Marcus had lost everything. 6 weeks after the bankruptcy, it was Ethan's sort of birthday, not his real birthday. That had passed months ago while Marcus was closing an acquisition, but halfway to 9 felt like something worth celebrating. Marcus had $3.17, not enough for a real present, not enough for a cake from a bakery, not enough for a party or decorations or any of the things he used to spend thousands on without thinking. So he got creative. He bought a box of cake mix for $1.50, borrowed sugar and eggs from Mrs. Wong, made frosting from powdered sugar and milk and butter. The cake came out lopsided, one side higher than the other. The frosting was too thin. It dripped down the sides and pooled on the plate. Marcus made decorations from construction paper, cut out letters that spelled "Happy Half Birthday," taped them to the wall with Scotch tape that didn't stick right. For a present, he made a coupon book, each coupon carefully drawn and colored with Ethan's crayons. "One day at the park. Movie night your choice. I'll teach you to ride your bike. We'll build a pillow fort. Pancakes for dinner. Ice cream after school." Every single coupon was time. That's all Marcus had to give. Time and presence, and the promise to show up. He invited Mrs. Wong. That was the whole party. 3 people in a 400-square-foot apartment eating lopsided cake. Ethan came home from school, saw the decorations, saw the cake. His mouth fell open. "Daddy, what's all this?" "Your half-birthday. I know I missed your real one, but I figured halfway to 9 is worth celebrating." Ethan's eyes were huge. He looked at the cake, the decorations, the single wrapped present that was clearly homemade and probably terrible. "You did all this for me." "Of course I did." Ethan walked to the table, touched the cake like he was afraid it might disappear. "You made this?" "I tried. It's kind of wonky. It's perfect." They sang "Happy Half Birthday." Ethan blew out candles they'd stuck in the cake, made a wish with his eyes squeezed shut, and his whole face scrunched up. "What did you wish for?" Mrs. Wong asked. "Can't tell," Ethan said seriously, "or it won't come true." He opened the present slowly, carefully, like it might break, pulled out the coupon book Marcus had spent hours making. Read the first one, then the second, then flipped through all of them, his eyes getting wider with each page. "Dad, these are all time with you. It's all I have to give, buddy." Ethan looked up. His eyes were shining. "It's everything. It's all I ever wanted." Then he was crying. Not sad crying, the kind of crying that happens when something inside you that's been broken for a long time suddenly starts to heal. He launched himself at Marcus, wrapped his arms around his father's neck, held on like he'd never let go. "This is the best birthday ever," Ethan sobbed into Marcus's shoulder. "The best one ever, Dad." Marcus held him tight, looked over Ethan's head at Mrs. Wong, who was wiping her eyes with a tissue. "You're a good father," she said quietly. Good father. Marcus didn't feel like a good father. Good fathers didn't waste 8 years. Good fathers didn't have to lose everything to figure out what mattered. But maybe, just maybe, he was becoming one. That weekend, Marcus kept his promise. They went to the bike shop. Well, the thrift store. Same difference. The bike was blue, used, scratched. One handlebar grip was missing. The seat was cracked. $30 Marcus really couldn't spare. Ethan looked at it like it was made of diamonds. Really? For me? Really? They walked it to the park. Marcus remembered watching other dads teach their kids to ride. It always looked easy. Hold the seat, run alongside, let go when they're ready. It wasn't easy. Ethan fell. First time, second time, third time, scraped his knee. Marcus stopped the bike, knelt down, wiped the blood with his shirt. "You okay, buddy?" Ethan nodded. "Can we try again?" They tried again. And again. Marcus ran beside that bike until his lungs burned and his legs ached. But he didn't stop. Didn't check a phone he didn't have anymore. Didn't think about anything except his son. "Dad, I'm scared." "I know, but I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise. One more try." Marcus held the seat. Ethan pedaled. Faster, faster. Marcus ran alongside. "I'm letting go," Marcus said. "Don't. You've got it, buddy. You've got it." Marcus let go. Ethan wobbled, steadied, kept pedaling. 10 feet, 20, 30. "I'm doing it!" Ethan's voice was pure joy. "Dad, look. I'm doing it. I see you, buddy." Marcus was running after him, tears streaming down his face. "I see you." Ethan rode that bike in circles around the park, laughing, free, alive. And Marcus stood there crying because he was seeing his son, really seeing him, maybe for the first time ever. When Ethan finally stopped, he jumped off the bike and ran to Marcus. "Did you see? Did you see me? I saw every second. You didn't look at your phone once." Marcus laughed through his tears. "Don't have a phone, remember? I threw it out a window. Best thing you ever did." Yeah, it was. That night, after Ethan was asleep, there was a knock on the door. Marcus opened it to find a man in an expensive suit holding a briefcase. Mid-50s, silver hair, the kind of watch that cost more than this building. "Marcus Brennan? Who's asking?" "My name is David Vandermeer. I represent the Vandermeer Group. May I come in?" Marcus didn't move. "If you're a creditor, I've got $800 to my name, and that's it." "I'm not a creditor. I'm here to make you an offer." Marcus let him in. Vandermeer looked around the tiny apartment with the kind of expression people get when they're trying very hard not to look disgusted. "I'll be direct," Vandermeer said. "We want to buy your patents, your intellectual property, everything you developed at Brennan Technologies." Marcus crossed his arms. "How much?" $15 million. Marcus's stomach dropped. $15 million. Not billions, but life-changing. Ethan's college paid for. A real apartment, a car, security, everything he'd lost. What's the catch? No catch. Though we'd also like you to consult. Help us implement your systems. Transition the technology. You'd have an office, a salary, full benefits. How many hours? Excuse me? How many hours a week? Vandermeer looked confused. Standard for someone at your level would be 60 to 70. Why? From the bedroom, Ethan's sleepy voice. Dad? Who's there? Marcus looked toward the bedroom, looked at Vandermeer, looked at the briefcase that probably contained a contract that would solve all their problems. Tell them no. Vandermeer blinked. I'm sorry? Tell them no. I'm not interested. Mr. Brennan, I don't think you understand. $15 million. You're cleaning toilets for $15 an hour. This is your way back. No, Marcus said quietly. This is my way back to exactly what destroyed me the first time. The answer is no. You're making a mistake. I've made a lot of mistakes. This isn't one of them. Vandermeer stood, shaking his head. When you change your mind, I won't. Have a good night. After he left, Marcus stood in the dark, wondering if he was insane. $15 million. He'd just turned down $15 million. Daddy? Ethan stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Was that man making you work again? Marcus knelt down. He wanted me to, but I said no. Why? Because I promised you. I promised I'd never be too busy again, and I'm keeping that promise. Ethan threw his arms around Marcus's neck. Thank you. For what? For picking me. Marcus held his son and knew he'd made the right choice. The only choice. 3 months passed. Marcus kept working nights, kept coming home to Ethan every morning, kept making burnt pancakes and walking to parks and reading bedtime stories. The school play was in December. Ethan had been cast as the lead. He'd practiced his lines for weeks, nervous and excited and so proud, Marcus thought he might burst. On opening night, Marcus sat in the front row. No phone, no distractions, no emergencies that couldn't wait. The lights dimmed. The play started. And when Ethan walked onto that stage, his eyes scanned the audience, searching, found Marcus. His whole face transformed. Confidence flooded in. He stood taller, spoke louder, performed like he was born for it. Afterward, Ethan ran off stage and launched himself into Marcus's arms. You came! You really came! Of course I came. I'll always come. Always? Always. Another parent walked by, stopped. Your son was incredible. You must be so proud. Marcus looked at Ethan, at this boy who'd waited 8 years for his father to show up, who'd forgiven him for missing everything, who'd chosen poverty with his dad over wealth without him. I am, Marcus said, more than I ever knew I could be. That night, tucking Ethan into bed, Ethan asked the question Marcus had been expecting. Dad, are you sad you're not rich anymore? Marcus thought about it. Really thought about it. No. Really? Really. But we don't have money for anything. We have money for what matters. Food, shelter, each other. I like this better, Ethan said quietly. Is that bad? That I'm glad you lost everything? Marcus's throat tightened. No, buddy, that's not bad. That's honest. And you know what? I'm glad too. You are? I am. Because I was rich in money and poor in everything else. Now I'm the opposite, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even for the penthouse. Not even for that. Why? Because I have you. Really have you. Not just living in the same house as you. Not just seeing you between meetings. Actually have you. And that's worth more than all the money in the world. Ethan smiled. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, buddy. More than you'll ever know. 1 year and 1 day after the bankruptcy, Marcus woke to sun streaming through the window of their small apartment. Ethan was still asleep beside him, one hand stretched out, almost touching Marcus's face. Marcus lay there watching him breathe. This boy who'd saved his life by asking one simple question. Who'd taught him what really mattered. Who'd forgiven him for 8 years of absence with 8 months of presence. His hands were calloused now. His back hurt most mornings. His clothes were from thrift stores. His car was the subway. His fortune was gone. And he'd never been richer. Ethan stirred. opened his eyes, smiled. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, buddy. What do you want to do today?" Marcus smiled. "Whatever you want. I've got all day." "You've got all day, every day now." "Yes, yes I do." They made pancakes, still burnt them, still laughed about it, walked to the park, played until they were tired, came home and built a pillow fort, read stories until Ethan fell asleep against Marcus's shoulder. And Marcus thought about the man he'd been, the billionaire in the penthouse, the CEO who thought success meant money, the father who thought providing meant presence instead of presence. That man was gone, dead, burned away in the fire that consumed everything he'd built. And from the ashes, someone better had risen. Someone who understood that wealth wasn't measured in dollars, that success wasn't measured in acquisitions, that a good life wasn't measured in square footage or stock prices or board seats. It was measured in moments, in burnt pancakes and scraped knees and bedtime stories, in showing up, in being there, in looking your child in the eye and really seeing them. People asked him sometimes, at the job site, at the grocery store, "Aren't you that guy who lost everything?" And Marcus would smile and say, "I'm that guy who found everything." Because he had. He'd lost billions and found what actually mattered. He'd lost an empire and found his son. He'd lost everything and gained the world. Thank you for staying with Marcus and Ethan through their journey. If this story reminded you that the richest life isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the moments we show up for the people who matter most, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. We have more stories that will challenge what you think success means. Stories that will remind you what really matters when everything else is stripped away. Don't miss them. And if you've ever been too busy for someone who needed you, or if you've ever realized too late what you were missing, share this story. Share it with someone who's working so hard for their family that they're forgetting to be present with their family. Because the greatest tragedy isn't losing everything. It's having everything and not realizing what you have until it's gone. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, you can buy success, but you can't buy back time. Spend it wisely. The people you love are waiting.